All right, we are live. Thanks, man. Happy New Year to you. Super excited to have you on the show today. This is the first inaugural show. Super excited. So thanks Zach for being
Oh,
on
thanks for
today.
having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. So let's go ahead and get started. Maybe you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit on your background and your experiences.
Yeah, so I keep it a little short and sweet, kind of the Spark Notes version of it. But my name's Zach Condon, born and raised in Minnesota. That's actually where I met Brandon at the University of Minnesota. We were, what was it? So I think it was you were benching, and I think I came up to you, or I was benching and you came up to me. You're kind of like, hey, can I work in?
Well, it was probably me. It was probably me. No, I remember actually.
Yeah,
So it was
uh-huh.
me. I was on the bench. You were pulling deads. I think you were pulling well over
I
500.
was,
Well, I mean, you were in north of the $500 benchmark there. And
yeah.
I was like, all right, I got to introduce myself to this guy. And I think I was a junior at the time. And I think you're
How
two
old are
years
you right
younger.
now?
I'm 26.
I just turned 25, so I graduated 2014.
Okay.
2018,
So
yikes. 2014 from
2018.
high school.
So I was 17. So you were you're younger than me. And I was
Okay.
like, man, this guy is pulling serious weight off the floor. And I was just impressed. And so, yeah, I was like, I got to get to know this guy. And I think that's how we just got, we got connected. And there was a whole, group of guys there
And
who
you
were
were actually
training. And
bodybuilding, right? You started
I
bodybuilding at
was.
that time.
I
Mm-hmm.
was bodybuilding at that time. I did my show in 17. So that would have been, spring of 17,
So
I did my show.
yeah, so I guess so my sophomore year. And then when I graduated from the University of Minnesota, I ended up interning with, do you remember Zach Ruark? He was a PhD student. He taught the training theory classes.
Okay.
Do you have any idea
I
what I'm
do,
talking about?
I do remember him. So you interned
So I
with those
interned for
guys. Okay.
him. Yeah, so he has his own like athletic training company and trained a bunch of high school hockey players all the way up through professional. So that was a super cool and fun experience. And that's really what kind of took me in through fitness. I knew I wanted to be a personal trainer. And after that, I moved out to LA, got a job at Equinox,
Yeah.
fell in love with the company. But I knew LA, and yeah, you actually came out to LA one weekend.
Yeah.
We got together out there.
Yeah, that was fun.
And that was a fun weekend. And then, yeah, I just kind of figured I wanted to get back into the Midwest. So they transferred me to a brand new club that they were opening up here. And I've been here ever since and just, yeah, loving life.
That's awesome, man. So back to your educational background a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, kinesiology was your major.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that
Kinesiology and then a minor in nutrition.
okay? Very cool. How was that experience at a Big Ten school? Kinesiology, nutrition, workload. Was that? Do you feel like that was the right, looking back at it, the right educational path for really what you wanted to get into? Did it provide that foundation that you were looking for?
Yes and no. So originally I was thinking physical therapy. And that's why kinesiology is one of the most typical routes for physical therapy. When I realized I wanted to get into personal training, you don't necessarily need a degree if you're a motivated individual. I
Sure.
do think it set me apart having that background because I was able to come in and know the anatomy and biomechanics of everything. But a lot of personal training is kind of hands-on, and yeah, textbook stuff is great. But until you kind of get that experience, what it's like to work with someone one-on-one, you can have all the certifications you want in the world. But if you can't like change things on the fly, or you don't know what you're looking for, like stuff that textbooks can't really teach you, it's, you know, you're not gonna see the success that you want to see necessarily.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of set me apart a little bit in that realm.
Sure. Yeah, it's like that book smart versus street smarts, right? And
Exactly.
you can be the bookworm and you can have all the knowledge on the physics and, to your point, the
Right.
biomechanics of a back squat, for example, which we'll get to later. But if you can't have a conversation with somebody or get a feel for how they're responding to a particular workout, or be able to visualize, hey, their form is
Exactly.
super sloppy, this weight is too much, we need to make a change, then
Yep.
you're not going to do well in the business.
Right, because then people aren't going to be invested in you. I mean, if people, because that's what you got to look at. Like a lot of times, people are training with you an average of 3 times a week. You know, they're coming, they're paying good money. They're spending an hour with you 3 times a week. Like if they're not enjoying that time, you're not going to be able to retain that client.
Right. Do you feel like the business, obviously there's the balance, right? There's the books and having the base, and then there's the, the kind of the personality and the characteristics that evolve around that. Do you feel that the industry is well balanced and that we have a lot of really intelligent personal trainers out there who have the knowledge and also have the personality skill sets? Or do you feel like we have a lot of personal trainers who maybe have great personalities and can interface and have discussions, but maybe lack the foundation? Or I guess maybe what's in place to, kind of balance those things out?
Yeah. So, and I would actually say we've got more people on each end of the spectrum. So you got your personal trainers that have all the certifications and they know everything, but their kind of relatableness isn't quite there. So they're not able to kind of connect with their clients. And then you get the people that are super relatable with their clients, but the programming aspect isn't there. And this is where it kind of depends on the client, because some people just getting to the gym is good enough. And that was one of my biggest faults coming in as a personal trainer. I'm like, I don't want to work with you if you're not going to be coming into the gym 5 to 6 days a week. You're not going to be following this strict meal plan. And yeah, as coming in as like more advanced lifter fitness guy, like that's what I did. So I was like, oh, if you want to see results, this is what you have to do. But the objective is to meet them where they're at and build. So you've got the trainers that know everything, that are like, follow this program, follow this strict diet, we'll get you to your goals. And then you have the other side where trainers are like, you know what, we're not even going to worry about that right now. Let's just make you enjoy coming into the gym. And then there's an even smaller percentage that are in the middle, where it's like, yes, this is what we're working towards. This is where you're at. This is how we're going to get to that point.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, and maybe a nice transition. We're talking about relating to clients and spending, 3, 5 days a week in the gym with your trainers. Obviously, with our current environment, COVID is thrown a wrench in that, right? I mean, we had,
Yes.
I'm not sure about what's going on in Chicago, but we've had two quote unquote gym lockdowns in the Minneapolis area. We had one in the spring where all gyms were closed, and then we just got out of one in the fall that was a 3 or 4 week lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about how you've been able to continue engaging with your clients and keeping them motivated, and frankly just keeping your lights on and your business going when
Mm-hmm.
access to a gym is not possible.
Yeah. So it was actually kind of funny because when we shut down in, I think it was like the second week of March, and then we opened back up in July, and we've been open up ever since then. Um, but a lot of times, and it's a different clientele at Equinox. It's more of kind of that type A personality, like that go, go, go. I
Yeah.
mean, people that care about fitness, but work usually gets in the way, or they have other obligations. And it's just like, you know, they weren't able to make the time necessarily because it was, one task after another. But COVID actually, so I came back in expecting business to just plummet, which it did at first because it was kind of like gyms just opened back up. But I'd say after about a month, people were like, you know what? I haven't taken fitness as seriously in my life. And this is a great opportunity to, kickstart that. So it was a lot of just kind of communication with clients and like, you know what? You said that you didn't have time to come into the gym 3 days a week. You're working from home right now. Let's find some extra time throughout your day. Let's come up with a schedule, pick three of your slowest days at work, or even come in on a weekend day, and just again kind of meet them where they're at. And all of a sudden, my business was actually better, during COVID than it was pre-COVID, because people were able to prioritize fitness a little bit more.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. I mean, I think I talk to people frequently, and it's like, well, obviously I'm into fitness, you're into fitness. The people we
Mm-hmm.
surround ourselves with are typically into fitness, but that common, I won't call it an excuse because I think that it's real, is that time element of fitness,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's, I need to find time in my day to get to the gym. And, you and I are, we're both young guys,
Yeah.
very little, responsibilities and overhead. And when you have a family and you have kids and that time just starts to dwindle away, right? And you're
Yep.
forced to prioritize, where am I going to put that hour?
Hmm.
And with COVID, we've gotten some time back in a lot of ways, and our daily grind of get up at 5, get in a shake, get to the gym at 6, get to the office at 8, meetings all day, back home, like that's
Right.
changed for a lot of people.
It
And
has.
they're finding opportunity within their day to make it to the gym potentially,
Hmm.
and to start prioritizing a part of their life that maybe they've been neglecting.
Right. And a lot of people too is like, oh, I want to come in. And this is what I found with a lot of people was, oh, I'm going to come in after work. And that's great because they blocked off the time. But then when they're talking with some of their coworkers, it's like, oh, let's go grab a drink after work. And a lot of times people don't want to miss out on that social aspect of life, which I completely get. I always tell people, I'm like, if fitness starts to consume your life, you're doing too much. You should be able to live a well-rounded life. And I always say, like, fitness is an umbrella. And like working out and exercising is just one branch of that umbrella where you've got your social aspect, you got the mental, emotional, spiritual, your relationships with other people. Like there's so much that goes into living a healthy lifestyle. And then it was, okay, well, how about you try coming in before work? And people are like, oh, I can't. I got to be into the office, like you said, by 8 a.m. And I'm not a morning person. But now with COVID, people don't have to be into the office at 8 a.m. They can hop on Zoom at 9. They can sleep until 7, come in here at 7:30, leave by 8:30, get online by 9. So it's just, yeah, there's more freedom in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. What's your philosophy on day of either time of day training? Are you any time is a good time, or do you find that you're, more successful with clients in the mornings? Are you persuading them to train in the afternoons or the evenings?
Again, it goes back to just meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Because once for someone to make something more of a lifelong kind of habit or routine or lifestyle, it needs to be their choice. So again, I could sit here and say, I have the best workout program, I have the best meal plan. You come in at this time, we're going to get you to your goals. But if it becomes a chore and they feel like, someone else is directing their lives, that's only going to last so long before they fall off. So a lot of times, I mean, during this COVID stuff, people have switched, yes, to morning workouts because they just realize, you know what, let's get this out of the way. It's going to be the hardest thing I do all day. And then the rest of the day is going to feel like a breeze.
Yeah.
Once people kind of got on that, they started being more consistent. I have clients who are training 2 times a week that are now up to 4 or 5 times a week because they're like, oh, I love how I feel when I start work and I crush my workout. They see people just rolling out of bed and they're like, damn, I've accomplished something today. And it puts them in a good mood too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been my philosophy. Actually, a good friend of mine, Gabe Paulson, shout out to him, was my roommate at the U. I think you might have met him.
I think I did too.
He was an Army ROTC guy, brilliant dude, incredible physique, and he was a morning guy. I mean, he opened
Hmm.
up the rec center 5:45 a.m. every day,
Yeah.
like clockwork. And
Yup.
when he started doing that, I'm like, dude, you're crazy. Like, I'm gonna get in my workout like between classes. And he's like, dude, try it for a week. He's like, get up with me for a week. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I get up, like alarm goes off first day. I'm like, man, this is gonna be tough. Like, I don't know if I'm like cut out for this. Day 2, tough. Day 3, not as bad. After the first week, I was hooked. I've been training pre 7 a.m., pre 6:30 a.m. for the last 5 years. I won't go back to
Good for
doing
you.
anything else.
Hmm.
And it's the way that it makes me feel. It's the way you feel after you get out of the gym. You feel like you've conquered the world and you're ready to take on the day. It's a
Yep.
mentality shift. And I've found so many, blessings in that consistency, and it's carried over into other parts of my life. It carries over into work.
For
It carries
sure.
over into, being a better husband. It carries over into a lot of different things. And I can't, I love the morning workouts, man. That's my jam.
Yep.
It's where I want to be. So
And I 100% would be there with you, but unfortunately the clients have to come first for me and they want the morning workouts. So, but
absolutely. Yeah.
I have found it is nice because I've got it. So, and this is what a lot of personal trainers deal with. You got the morning crowd, you got the evening crowd, and then the middle of the day when everyone's at work is kind of your free time.
Yeah.
So I've been getting in workouts between 10 a.m. and usually 1 p.m. And I've kind of gotten in a nice rhythm there. But on days that I can work out early, no, I agree with you 100%. It's
Yeah.
get after it bright and early. And
For sure. So, well, let's transition here a little bit. I want to talk to you just a little bit about the business side of personal training. And I know in a lot of ways, being obviously you're working for a great company and they provide a lot of valuable assets. They provide the space, they provide a lot of the branding. But at the end of the day, people are training with you, not because of the gym you're in, they're training with you because they think highly of you, you're educated, they like the way they feel when they train with you. And it's like, I'm going to work with Zach. Tell us just a little bit about how you've marketed yourself and kind of built your personal brand in order to keep some of that consistency and to obviously bring in new clients.
I'm going to start off by talking about the things that I have not messed up on, but kind of the things that have held me back a little bit. The first one being is don't talk too much. You got two ears, you got one mouth, use them in proportion to each other. Because we have to realize is as a fitness professional, you get hyped up about this. Like this stuff excites you and someone is coming to you because they want your advice. If you just start spewing out information at them, one, you're going to lose them. And two, they're like, I don't care about any of this. I just want to work out and I want, to see results. So that was probably the first thing that really kind of was like, oh, yeah, I've got all this valuable information, but you need the information for you. Some clients care about it, but more times than not, they don't care about that stuff. But just being relatable, being able to read a scene and kind of like, because not everyone's the same. So if you have someone who's a little bit more reserved and you're out there and you're just yapping away, they're going to kind of be disengaged. You kind of got to mirror what your client's personality is. But just, bringing the energy. I mean, you can tell when the person, and I notice this too, when trainers are out on the floor and they have energy with their clients and they're getting excited for them and they're explaining why they're doing things, the client's just as engaged and that's what's going to keep them coming back. So it's a lot of, I hate saying mirror because you're not mirroring it. You still have your own personality, but the most successful personal trainers are the ones that can relate to their clients and instill habits. That's what I'll say. Because you can, again, I could give you the best workout program, the best meal plan, but if that's not going to become a part of your life, you'll do it for 30 days and you're going to stop. That's why you see, the New Year's resolutioners. I think I saw a study, it was like 92% of them are out of the gym by April because they come in and they're just like, they're going 0 to 100, but they're not instilling habits. So this has actually been what's gotten me the most success is instead of saying, okay, these are your goals, this is where you want to get, it's no, this is where you're at. The point of what we're doing from right now, like this month, is to get you from point A to point B. Once we kind of get a couple of these habits in place, then we can go from point B to point C and point C to point D. The problem is people come in and they have where they're at A to where they want to get Z, and people want to go from A to L, L to S, and S to Z, thinking that it's going to be this quick, easy fix.
Yeah.
And you can make it a quick, easy fix, but that's not going to last.
Yeah.
So it's being for it.
Yeah. I mean, the word that I have always associated with New Year's resolution success is adherence, right?
Yes.
We need to create a program for you that you can adhere to for an extended period of time. And I think that a lot of people with great intentions start off the year with a ton of ambition and motivation. They're fired up. I'm meal prepping. I'm cutting my carbs. I'm doing everything in my mind that I think I need to do in order to get on track. And to your
Yep.
point, people jump from A to Z, and they wonder why they can't adhere to a program.
Hmm.
It's because there's so many little micro steps along that way that you totally jumped over. You didn't build you tried to build a house without a
Without a
strong
foundation.
foundation,
Yep.
and you're surprised that the house fell apart. And so maybe you could speak just a little bit based on your experiences. And I know we're talking about just fitness here. Obviously, there's other
Hmm.
parts of life that
Right.
people have New Year's resolutions. I want to save more money. I want to travel more places. But just speaking to fitness, what are some of those foundational fitness elements that people need to have in order to adhere to a program long term?
Yeah, so the three things that we focus on here is movement, nutrition, and regeneration. So that's one of the reasons why I fell in love with the company, is because those were my pillars. I called them my three big rocks.
Mm,
Equinox calls them the three big pillars. So when it comes to like movement, yes, you need to move more. Uh, Whatever, movement is medicine. But again, it's figuring out where they're at. Where if someone who is just coming into the gym for the first time and they're like, all right, 2021 is going to be my year. If they come in and they're like, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, I'm going to get after it. It's like, no, you're going from 0 to 100 too fast. You're going to burn out. Anyone can come in and work out when they're motivated. But what happens when life hits you in the face? What happens when work gets slammed, when you got 3 kids and they're everyone's school from home and you can't find a sitter? Like, what happens then? So it starts with instilling behaviors into their lives where it's like, yeah, let's say you're super motivated and you're coming to the gym 7 days a week, you work out for an hour and a half. That's what's 1.5 times 7? Okay, let's round up to 14. Let's say 2 hours. That's
yeah,
14 hours out of the 168 hours in the week. Like, you're that's not living a well-rounded lifestyle. So it's creating unstructured movement in their day, meaning how can we get them to just be more active in their day? Perfect. You like, oh, so this is what I say. You gotta make something a routine to build it into a habit. So take something you do every day. Eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, after each meal, let's go for a 5-minute walk. Something super simple and easy. Now, everyone can walk, assuming you don't have like an injury or something, but everyone can go for a walk. Perfect. You did that for 3 days a week. Now we're going to bump it up to 4 days a week. You did that for 5 days. Now let's make it a 10-minute walk. Just something like that where they're able to do stuff on their own. For nutrition, same thing. If I just give you a meal plan, you're not learning anything. You're not able to like make this a lifestyle change. So we pick one thing at a time to work on. The first thing that I like to focus on is protein. Women especially tend to underconsume protein, and men tend to say that they eat more than they actually do. But it's just, okay, you want to lose weight? Well, let's make sure you're getting in enough protein, enough fiber, enough water throughout your day, because what's going to happen is you're just going to feel full and you're not going to be hungry for the snack food. So instead of subtracting things from their diet, saying you can't eat this, you can't eat this, I go subtraction by addition, meaning, all right, I want you to shoot for 100 grams of protein a day. I want you to shoot to have at least one serving of vegetables with every single meal. And what happens then, like I said, is you're more full, so you don't eat all that garbage food that you tend to crave later in the day. And then when it
yeah,
comes to like the regeneration, same thing, where it's like, okay, you're getting 6 hours of sleep a night. I want you to get in bed 6.5 hours before you wake up. Okay, you did that. Now I want you to get in bed 7 hours before you wake up. And next thing you know, they're getting in bed, and then we can start to create like a kind of a bedtime routine kind of deal. But you only see your clients for such a small fraction of time that you need to help them kind of instill these behaviors into their day-to-day life so they can do it on their own and they can make it a lifestyle.
yeah. You hit on so many awesome points there. You talk about forming a habit, and I think that the best, or at least some of the more skilled and artful personal trainers that I've met and spent time with, help their clients form healthy habits. And
Hmm.
if you're having to drag clients into the gym every week and it's a chore, it's not sustainable. And so you need, to your point, to find those avenues for creating a habit and creating a healthy habit, and then it just kind of becomes a part of your daily routine.
Yep.
It's like, I feel like I'm missing, an element of who I am or my day when I don't get in my workout. So
Right.
that becomes a necessity. The other thing that you touched on is sleep. I mean, recovery, I think in our world of, especially in millennials, of the grind mentality, right? Let's grind, let's work, let's go, 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 go. It's crazy how little people sleep.
Mhm.
There's this technology out there. I'm sure you've heard of it called Whoop. Um, he's got one on. Look at that. It's not even an ad, it's not even an ad for Whoop, but he's got it on. I don't have one, but there's a lot of technology out there now who they're focusing on making sleep a priority, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
evidence and a lot of data that shows that people just aren't at their peak performance.
Mhm.
And that's because of
Well,
lack of sleep.
it is, and it's crazy how important sleep is. I remember in college, it was cool to get 4 hours of sleep. You
Mhm.
walk into your 8 a.m.s and you're like, I got 4 hours of sleep. How much sleep did you get?
Yeah.
Like 3. And I'm like, oh, I'll beat that tomorrow. But so have you read Why We Sleep by Jordan Peterson?
No, I haven't.
I would recommend that book. It talks about the benefits of sleep, but the one statistic that stuck out in the book the most to me was, let's say you stay up for 24 hours in a row. Your physical performance, your cognitive performance, everything's going to take a hit. I mean, like that's just, you stay up all day, your next day is going to be horrible. But they did a study, and for people that got 6 hours of sleep for 10 days in a row, had the same amount of decrease in cognitive performance and physical performance as the people that stayed up for 24 hours straight. And then it kind of like that opened up my mind. I was like, what? Like, we can get by off of 6 hours of sleep. And it's like right now, yes, you can get by. I mean, you said it perfectly. You get by, but you're not living. Like, and it's one of those things, until you experience what a good night of sleep feels like, you don't know what you're missing out on. And again, going back to these like high CEOs are like, I don't have enough time to sleep 8 hours. Again, they talk about it in the book where people
Mhm.
that end up getting 8 hours of sleep are more productive. So they're able to get more stuff done in a shorter period of
Yeah.
time.
Dude, it's
Um,
it's unbelievable. I mean, I just listened to a podcast, Joe Rogan and Matthew McConaughey. And
Love Joe
Joe
Rogan.
Rogan asked Matthew McConaughey, like, how many hours of sleep you get a night? He's like 9.5. And Joe's like, whoa, that dude, that's awesome. And they go on this entire segment about how important sleep is. And it just, you look at a high functioning individual and an actor and somebody who is as successful as a Matthew McConaughey, and he's pushing nine
Hmm.
and a half hours. That means that guy's getting up, he's working all day. And I mean, the amount of like, the reality is when you sleep that much, you force yourself to be consistent during the day. Like you have
Yes.
to get things done because you're without that, like that's a pressure. You know that there's this block of time that you need to be out.
Yep.
And you got to get stuff done. And so it's a
But you
forced
also have the
function.
energy and the focus. You have the
Exactly.
energy and the focus to get it done. So it makes it easier.
Right. So yeah, man, that's huge. I really appreciate your insights on that. Let's change pace a little bit. We talked about New Year's resolutioning and kind of the foundations of that. Let's talk about the future a little bit. 2021 for fitness and personal training. We're coming
Hmm.
off a year where not as many, potentially, and not as many people got into the gym just based on the fear of COVID-19.
Right.
I totally understand that. And in some circumstances, maybe or maybe not, depending on your opinions, the right or the wrong thing to do. But what do you really see as 2021 for the fitness industry? What are your quick takes on what's going to happen this year?
I think the fitness industry is going to take off because one, you have some people that haven't worked out in coming up on a year. I mean, some people have taken all of COVID off and have not stepped foot in a gym. And I don't even mean like you need to come into a gym to get a workout in, but a lot of these big brand companies are kind of revolutionizing. You don't need to go into a gym to get a workout in. Get our Peloton bike. I know PRX has a bunch of at-home equipment. You can literally have a squat rack in your house and you don't even have to go to a gym. So I think more people are going to get involved in fitness, especially with looking at the numbers from COVID. Like the people that got affected the worst were the people that had compromised immune systems. One of the best ways to combat that is live a healthier lifestyle, be active. I was going to say work out, but it's not even just working out, just like getting out and moving more.
Mhm.
So we've talked about this here quite a bit. I think that the gym numbers are going to spike up, meaning more people are going to sign up for gym memberships. But I also think as like a community, people are just going to start moving more because people are starting to go stir crazy. I mean, I've seen it
Yeah.
firsthand. People are starting to unfreeze their gym memberships and they're like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like to get out of my apartment. I mean, some people are in this, 500 square foot apartment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they never get out. And at some point, I mean, you see mental health taking a huge skyrocket right now.
Yeah.
Again, one of the best ways to combat mental health is movement. As humans, we're built to move. We're not the strongest out there, we're not the fastest, but we can travel long distances in a long period of time. Like we have the endurance. So biologically, we were built to move. And then you start to confine people, then you start, the mental health, weak immune systems, everything starts to fall down. So I think we're hitting that turning point of
Yeah.
kind of the
Yeah.
pendulum swinging the other way.
I tend to agree with you on that, and I don't by any means mean to make this a political discussion, but I think that was a lot of the reasoning and a lot of the discussions that our fitness leaders were having with governors was the mental health aspect of fitness, and a lot of the points that you made around fitness being a great weapon in your arsenal against chronic disease. And if we can
Yep.
continue to allow people to train and to work out, and sorry, I'm getting a little cat interruption here, but that's what it's all about. And I want to see people get back to that, and I want to see people get back to that
Mhm.
in a safe way. And as this vaccine rolls out, and we start getting some more confidence as a society that we have this pandemic under control, I really agree with you 100%. I think people are going
Mhm.
to get after it, and it's going to be a year of hopefully health. So,
Which is exciting because fitness has always kind of fell on the back burner in a lot of people's lives.
I
Like,
know.
I'll work out if I have time.
Yeah.
Now I think it's starting to make a turn where people are like, all right, I need to prioritize my fitness because like bars and restaurants aren't open. So
Yeah.
people like that was always the excuse. Oh, I want to go to happy hour. Oh, I'm too hungover to work out. Once people see what it feels like to be consistent with fitness and just like what they're capable of, I think it's going to become more of a priority in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so too. I really do.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, man. All right, so let's move on to last couple topics here. I know we got about 20 minutes. Let's talk about your physique. I'm excited to talk about this. If you guys are listening and you don't follow Zach on Instagram or any of the social media platforms, I'll be sure to put your handle in the video. Dude, your strength, your physique is crazy. I've always looked up to what you've been able to do in the gym, inside the gym, outside of the
Appreciate that.
gym. Tell us a little bit about what your goals are for 2021, and kind of how you're thinking about it. Is it strength? Is it a mix? Are you getting big this year? Like what's going on in your head?
Yeah, so I actually don't know if I told you this. I am going to sign up for my first bodybuilding show.
Awesome. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, yeah, like you said, strength. I played football, and then I started working out because I played football, and then I continued to play football because I was working out. So, working out has always been something that's just fascinated me. It's come natural to me. Strength has always been one of those things. So, yeah, like in college, I don't think I touched sets higher than 8 reps ever. Like I was strength and only strength. And I wanted to do powerlifting. I've always wanted to do bodybuilding, but I never wanted to feel like coming to the gym was a chore. So that's why I never competed, because I enjoyed coming in. So I was like, you know what? Why fix it if it ain't broke? And then, there's a lot of testosterone with a couple of the trainers here. So we're all kind of meatheads. And one of them brought up I should get into bodybuilding. And
Yeah.
I figured, you know what?
I've been telling you that for
I
years.
know, but I've never wanted to cut alcohol out of my life. I'm
Yeah.
just like, you know what? And moving to LA, I did cut it out significantly. But again, like if I go out to dinner, I want to order a beer or two. I want to be able to get pizza, pasta. I live in Chicago. Like it's a great spot for restaurants, great pizza place. But with quarantine, everything's shut down. I'm like, you know what? Now's the perfect opportunity for me to dive in headfirst to bodybuilding. I'm not going to feel like I'm missing out on social events. I'm not going to feel obligated to like go out, but then be conscious about what I'm eating, what I'm drinking. So I figured, you know what? Now's the time to do it. So I decided I'm going to do a show on May 15th out in Vegas.
Okay.
And then after that,
Great.
get into powerlifting.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's aggressive. I mean, we're 5 months out. Just to clarify, are you going to do bodybuilding? Are you going to do classic? Are you going to do physique? What are you thinking?
It depends how my legs kind of
It
build,
always
because
does, doesn't it?
like I've got the strength in the legs, but I don't have the size. So if depending how my legs develop, because I've also never hit hypertrophy for legs. So depending how my legs develop will depend if I do physique or bodybuilding.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. Are
Yeah.
you competing in what's the confederation that you're competing in, and what's the show?
Oh, that's a good question. So one of my coworkers is actually taking over my programming and nutrition, and he was the one who found this show. It's an amateur
Okay.
tested. So I mean, it's going to be
A natural show.
right. I'm not going against any of those mass monsters.
Yeah.
What federation it was? Is UPC one of them, or am I totally making that up?
And well, there's
NPC.
NPC. Yeah. Yeah,
NPC.
there's
Yeah, I think it's
NPC's
NPC.
got. Well, Minneapolis has a couple shows every year. We have the Iron Viking, and we do the Gopher Classic, and some of them are tested and some are untested. And doing a show, man, is I tell anybody who's ever been interested in bodybuilding in general, whether that be physique or classic, you got the legs, you don't have the legs to do it. And
OCB is what it is.
OCB, okay.
OCB Vegas Victory Classic. Yeah, whatever that means.
Right. Yeah, it's an experience. It's one of the most difficult and rewarding things I've ever done.
Yes, and watching you go through that prep, I mean, it motivated me. I was like, damn, like this guy's dialed in, and it's one of those things I've always said I wanted to, and I'm like, oh, I could if I wanted to do it. I just don't want to do it. Says everything, says everyone about everything. So I'm like, you know what? Let me prove to myself that I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is bodybuilding it's all about you. Like, yes, you're competing against other people, but it's such an individual sport in the sense of like, you're really only competing against yourself.
Yeah.
So
that's the element. That's what I loved my experience. And looking back on it, it's hard. I mean, there's no doubt about, getting down that lean and what that does to your hormones and your relationships and your mental health. And there's a lot of challenges that come with it, but by golly, it was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life.
That's what I've heard a lot of bodybuilders say.
Yeah, it's a personal choice, and it's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
Again, you have to be the one to make that decision, because if someone else says we're doing a bodybuilding show, you're like, oh, okay, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to talk about getting that lean, but it's one thing to actually get that lean, plus having to work and having to get workouts in. And yeah, like you said, try and be social with your friends. I know you got a wife right now, and it's a very selfish sport.
It is.
I will say
that's the one thing that I did not take into consideration when I did it, is the impact on the people around me, because I did some things right, but I did some things wrong.
Mm.
The first thing that I did wrong, I think in my mind, was that I didn't, um, I wish I would have prepped with someone else. I wish I would have gotten a
Really?
friend or had somebody that I knew who was prepping, because it is an isolating experience. No one understands, or no one really cares about whether or not you're doing a gram and a half or you're doing 10.5 grams of chicken breast on Friday,
Yeah, right.
unless you've prepped and you
Yep.
like, it's like, like I got a high carb day today. Like, dude, I know how that feels.
Yes.
And when you talk to people who aren't in the bodybuilding, you just sound like a nut.
You sound
And
you kind of are a nut, but like
you are. It's crazy. It's
yeah.
crazy what bodybuilders do to their physiques in order to get them to the place where they need to be on stage. And not a lot of people understand that. But it is isolating. And I wish I would have gone through it with somebody else. And I also wish I would have used a coach. And you're
Did you
doing
do it on
that.
your own?
I did. I did it solo. I did my own diet. I did my own
Wow.
training. I did my own.
Good for you.
The only thing that's not true, I did get I did have a posing coach. So I
Okay.
did work with somebody on my posing, and I'm really glad I did that. But I found myself like talking to my posing coach, not about posing, but about like, is it normal for me to feel like I want to rip a sticky note and count down the days until prep's over because like I'm miserable and I'm
This
done with this.
sucks.
And, the psychology and the mental aspect of prepping is the most challenging.
Yes.
It's
And
not the
that's
physical.
right. And
Not.
so one of the trainers that I work with here, he's a professional bodybuilder. He's a big guy, but he always wins like best poser and stuff like that in his shows. So he's gonna coach me, and he's like, like it all comes down to conditioning. He's like, everyone comes in with muscles. He's like, what are you gonna do to set yourself apart? Like, you got to come in lean, and to try and like maintain as much muscle mass as you can while cutting down that low. Like, the mental game is, I mean, it's, I'm not even speaking from personal experience yet. Like, I just have seen people go through it, and like,
Yeah.
it's brutal.
It is, but I think you're in a good position, man. You have a really good network of people around you who are knowledgeable. You have people
Hmm.
who have been through the experience. You're already a leg up on the competition, and your buddy's right. I mean, people come in. People come in with muscles, and
Hmm.
what sets people apart is posing and conditioning.
Hmm. I want to touch
And
back on something you said about like, you can't do it on your own, like having a team. I just think that's so invaluable in life, because like, and I run into this issue all the time where I'm like, oh, I can do it on my own. Like, how hard can that be? I just got to work harder.
yeah,
It's like, no, life works so much better when you got a team of people that you can rely on, and that can support you through whatever it is that you're doing, fitness or not fitness related.
yeah, yeah. Life is not an individual sport,
It is
for
not.
sure. And it's you gotta have that network around. You gotta have people that you can tap into. But I think the other problem, I've run into this problem, is it's not that I don't need the team, it's that I don't need the help. And I don't need to ask for the help because I got this. Like, I got it under control. And there's times in my life personally, there's been times professionally where I thought I could do it on my own, and it didn't work out that way. And you,
Yeah.
you can't you can't be you can't be scared to ask for help, because you can't know it
Right.
all.
Hmm.
And that's like checking your ego at the door. And that's not easy for a lot of people to do. It's not easy for me to do. It's probably not easy for you to do. But
Mm-mm.
in order to be successful and to progress and to learn, you got to be able to do that.
And that, I do want to kind of bring that back to personal training. Everyone thinks you need to have your niche as a personal trainer. Again, coming into personal training, a lot of people just want to work with athletes.
Yeah.
You go into a commercial gym, there's 3 athletes that train there, and none of them want personal trainers. So instead of finding your like, oh, what's your niche? This is what I'm going to get really good at. Do it all. Be as well versed as you can be, because what you'll notice is people have different goals. And just because you could have 2 people side by side, they both want to lose weight and gain muscle mass, but their programs are going to be so different, just based on their mobility, their needs, what they're capable of doing. And if you don't have that kind of broad spectrum of like okay, this is what we're going to do, you're going to try and fit a square piece into a triangle hole, and it's not going to work.
Yeah. No, that's super valuable. Thanks for that. All right. Last topic here. We got just about 9 minutes. I want to make sure that we talk a little bit of mechanics from a lifting standpoint. A lot of people are getting into fitness this year. Maybe they're already in fitness and they want to get better. They want to talk technique. They want to get stronger. I know, and you know, that the back squat is just one of the best movements all around
Yep.
for strength, for just in general.
Fundamentals. Yep.
Fundamentals, everything. And there's a lot of discussion to be had around, leg development in the back squat. I think that there's some other movements that are better for leg development in isolation for the quads and the hamstrings than the back squat, but the back squat is the best compound leg, glute, hamstring, hips, core movement ever.
Yes.
Can you give us some insights into, if I'm, somebody who's been training for a while, maybe I squat, maybe I'm squatting 315, 405, but I want to bring my squat to the next level. What's your advice, or how are you helping that individual increase their strength and kind of break that plateau of into like elite squatting?
Yeah. So, I mean, it does get very variable. Everyone is going to have a different answer to this, or like I'm going to have a different answer for everyone.
Sure.
But more times than not, the single leg stability. So when you're back squatting, let's say you hit a plateau, you've tried to mix up the reps, mix up the weight, mix up tempos and stuff, and it's just not working. Go to like a Bulgarian split squat for 4 weeks. And that was one thing that me and one of the trainers did here. We're like, we both got some pretty strong squats, but we're like, you know what are we bad at? Bulgarian split squats. So we decided to throw that into our program for 4 weeks. I didn't touch a squat bar for 4 weeks. I came back and I was 50 pounds at least. I think it was 50 pounds or 55 pounds heavier on my back squat just because of that single leg stability work. So what I always tell people is like, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and your body will not build strength or muscle mass if it doesn't deem it advantageous. So just because you don't have like a nagging injury or something doesn't mean that you haven't kind of hit that limit. And a lot of times that limit for people is stability. So by going single leg, I mean, that puts a lot of stability into the core, into legs and stuff, your hips. Once that starts to pick up, everything else just kind of skyrockets.
Dude, that's such a valuable piece of advice. Like I think that, at least from my perspective, a lot of people might think about leg development or squat development as like, I'm gonna vary my rep schemes. So rather than like, and this gets down to, strength and, hypertrophy. And that's like a whole nother podcast.
Right.
I mean, we could talk about strength versus hypertrophy for
days.
For days. But I think that's the most common is people are going to, they're going to switch up. God, like, am I squatting too narrow, or am I squatting wide enough? Or am I going low bar? Am I going high bar? Am I using enough weight?
Front squat, back squat.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much variability, but for you to kind of think about it as like, no, like let's think about it a little bit differently. Going to the Bulgarian split squat and focusing on that, single leg. I mean, we're putting a lot of emphasis on balance. We're putting a lot of emphasis on core stability. We're putting a lot, like, that whole mind muscle connection is just different, and the leverage is different. And so when you focus on that, and then you come back to that fundamental back squat, you've just added like 3 or 4 tools to your toolbox that you didn't have before. And now you're cranking through them, and you're working with more weight. So yeah, I think that's brilliant.
So, I mean, literally it was one of those, until I tried it, I didn't believe it. And all of a sudden I did it. I was like, damn, where the hell has this been my entire life?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here, guys. Go try the Bulgarian split squat for 4 weeks if you're trying to break through a squat plateau.
It's humbling. It's a very humbling experience.
Yeah, let's give that a shot and see what happens. So, well, Zach, dude, it's been great. Thanks for being on the show this afternoon.
Oh,
January
appreciate
1st.
this.
We're starting the year strong.
Starting the new year off strong.
It's been great. I love what you're doing with your social media. I love what you're doing in the business.
Appreciate
It's a
that.
pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
If you're ever out in Chicago, I don't know if I told you, me and my buddy got a podcast, so I'd love to have you on there and we can, talk same kind of stuff that we're doing
Yeah,
here. And
that'd be great, man. I'm always looking for an excuse to go to Chicago. Maybe we can get some
let me know when you're out
pizza and
here.
yeah, man, for sure.
Yes.
So, all right, man. Well, have a great start to your new year, and have a great weekend.
You as well. Appreciate this.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.